So I'm here today now with Air Liquide from Air Liquide, a really well-known company in the hydrogen space. So Eric, really nice having you here in our media center at the World Hydrogen Congress in Rotterdam. Looking forward to our talk.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Nice to be here.
Pleasure. So before we get into detail, I would love to know what was your personal journey to hydrogen and also to your current position at Air Liquide.
Okay, so I am part of the Air Liquide group, as you mentioned, which is a worldwide leading industrial gas company. So Air Liquide provides many gases to many customers worldwide, being industry, healthcare, electronics, and energy. One of the central strategies of the group is the energy transition. That's really fundamental of the energy transition, and a big pillar of it is hydrogen. So personally, as most of the Air Liquide employees, I have the chance to have worked on different gases, industrial welding gases, helium, rare gases, xenon, krypton, and hydrogen. And hydrogen happens to be the gases where I spend the most of my time. I have 20 years experience in Air Liquide. I started in hydrogen 15 years ago. So you see, I was there very beginning, 2008. We created the first dedicated entity for hydrogen energy. At that time, we were focusing on early markets. We had the forklift hydrogen and some stationary application. I then moved to project very closely connected to hydrogen, CCS project, and more particularly, so in the close to in Unvert, we are capturing the CO2 in our steam reforming equipment, hydrogen, liquefying the CO2 and transporting it to Norway for sequestration. And I was part of the project that developed the ship, the liquid CO2 ship, able to go and sequestrate CO2. So very much connected to blue hydrogen, low carbon. And for now 2 years, I am back in the hydrogen business. I am taking care of developing strategic partnerships, which are very important in the energy transition. Air Liquide cannot do this transformation alone. We need key partners. We are present all over the value chain, and we will be able to achieve our objective with partners. And if you allow me to share with you one personal experience that makes me believe in partnership, at the very beginning of the COVID crisis, I had the chance to lead the Industrial Alliance to produce, on the request of the French government, 10,000 ventilators for the trauma rooms. And we had to produce those 10,000 ventilators in 50 days. So nobody alone was really able to do that. It was kind of impossible. And 4 big leading industrial groups, French group, the Stellantis Group, Schneider Electric, Valeo, and Air Liquide, combined their expertise in order to produce those ventilators. And we achieved the challenge. We produced the 10,000 ventilators in 50 days, which means for me a very strong signal. When you combine expertise and you are moved by a common sense of purpose, which was very strong in that case, it was saving life, you can achieve the impossible. So what is impossible alone, when you are with the right partners, become possible.
This is a really nice anecdote because, I mean, the partnerships was somehow part of almost every interview we had here, because partnerships, collaborations, and it's absolutely right.
And it's my personal experience that makes a very strong belief.
Absolutely, and this shows how strong partnerships can be and how fast something can be developed if you find the right partners and the willingness to implement it.
Exactly.
But back to hydrogen, you mentioned it, man. You started 2008 with your own, with the first dedicated unit for hydrogen, but you're always already active in the field for decades. You're one of the founding members of the Hydrogen Council. So what would be of interest to me is also how did the customer requests change since 2018, and especially during the last few years when it comes to quality of hydrogen, carbon intensity, or even color of hydrogen?
For sure, there has been an increase in momentum, a clear increase in momentum in hydrogen energy for the past years. It's certainly coming from the climate urgency, that's for sure. We all know now that we have no choice than to really strongly address the problem. And Air Liquide, as many others, strongly believes that hydrogen is an important part of the solution. So as I was saying before, hydrogen for Air Liquide is really a central part. So we know it very well. It's kind of new for many people right now that discover hydrogen. For Air Liquide, it's already 50 years of experience. It started in the 70s by the launch of the Ariane rocket, where Air Liquide had to master the hydrogen. So we know it very well. It's today an existing activity of the group, a big one. The sales of hydrogen are 2 billion euros, so we know it very concretely. And we have a strong ambition to increase the hydrogen to answer the energy transition challenge. So the commitment of the group will be to invest 8 billion euro until 2030 and to triple our sales. I mentioned 2 billion sales, we will go to 6 billion sales. So we clearly see this increase in momentum and the need to answer to an increasing demand of hydrogen. What do we do? When you say customer, right now what we see is really an increased demand in mobility. So we have also the conviction that hydrogen is certainly one answer for the clean mobility. And more specifically, even liquid hydrogen, specifically for what we call heavy duty or intense usage of energy. And here we have a clear roadmap and a clear answer already to the customer asking things. So liquid hydrogen could be the answer. So I was mentioning heavy duty for road mobility, the trucks, even really quickly for the shipping that already started in the Nordics, for the train, and we are already also very active for the aviation. You will tell me aviation is long term, we are talking about 2035, but we need to work on it starting now, typically starting to prepare the airports, required action, clear action from immediately. So hydrogen for mobility is for me something very concrete that is going on, where we need to deploy all over the value chain, production. So you mentioned green hydrogen, electrolysis, blue hydrogen. We need to transport it, so setting up the supply chain in order to be able then to distribute it to all these different means of mobility. So this is happening right now, and with a very strong request for customers.
Okay. Then going back to what you said about tripling the sales, I mean, it's 4 billion additional sales with hydrogen. So do you have a certain color or carbon footprint in mind, or are you technology or color agnostic when it comes to the hydrogen you want to bring into the market?
What is for sure is that hydrogen must be low carbon. So the usual way of doing it, that's now not an option. Then we, Air Liquide, are having the two options. So production of renewable hydrogen or green hydrogen. So here we have announced a partnership with the Siemens Energy Group. So we will be, thanks to this partnership, developing a giga factory of electrolysis in Germany. So that's very concrete, and we are already acting on it. We are also active on what we call low carbon hydrogen, or blue hydrogen. We have project of already, I was mentioning before, in the port of Anvers, of capturing the CO2 from our steam reforming equipment in order to sequester it. So the Air Liquide Group is very active on both means of production, being it renewable or low carbon hydrogen.
Okay, thank you. I mean, and both is needed because we just need to ramp up the hydrogen production to decarbonize. I mean,
yes, you are right. We cannot exclude any solution to the energy transition challenge.
Absolutely, I fully agree. But then taking it a bit further, I mean, you already mentioned different projects that you are taking part of and you're realizing, not only now, but also during the last years. So you're active in projects worldwide. We are now in Rotterdam. An example is the partnership with the Port of Rotterdam on the 1,000 trucks that connect also the Port of Rotterdam then with Germany and Belgium. Are there already best practices in realizing these projects that you could share, for example? Because, I mean, on the conferences I've been this year, so reaching final investment decision, bankability, supply chains, this is always an issue. And now from a company that is involved in a lot of projects, that knows how to realize it, is there something you can share?
Yeah, but my answer then here to you will be partnership again, if I may. The challenges are so big that nobody can do it alone. And if I go back to all over the value chain, I just mentioned production and our association with Siemens Energy. If we go down then the value chain a little bit, you will see that partnerships are always present. The next stage typically is to prepare the future mobility, the vehicle. You mentioned trucks. We have the belief that trucks, at the end, being heavy, intense energy usage, will move to liquid. So we are already preparing the future. We have announced a partnership with the group Forvia. We are co-developing right now the future liquid tank for the truck. So this is, you need to do that today in order to be ready tomorrow. Then we move to the infrastructure. For this vehicle to operate, they need to meet an infrastructure. So you mentioned iTrucks, where there is a synchronized deployment of vehicle with an infrastructure. We have also experience in Paris, what we call the iSetco. If you know it, there is the biggest development of hydrogen taxi in Paris with iSetco. This is something which is ongoing, and it's a partnership with Toyota that provides the Mirai taxi and the Total Energy Group and an association. So you see here, this is something very concrete that is happening. So all over the value chain, for me, to answer your question, is the word partnership. The best practice is to have really the leading partners with you in order to make it happen. And here, if you allow me to come back to the 10,000 ventilator, that's exactly the analogy. In order to make it happen, alone it may be impossible. Together with the best partner, it becomes possible.
Yeah, couldn't imagine a better way to finish this interview. So Eric, thank you very much for sharing the insights and being here with us, and looking forward to updates on these many projects you're working on.
Many thanks. Thanks you for the interview. Thank you for welcoming me. Bye-bye.